Hi, I'm Tom, and I keep a spreadsheet of all my models to track my painting progress. This video was actually supposed to be out in early January, but I just can't finish it for some reason. Better late than never, I suppose. Here we go. 2023 has passed and 2024 has begun. It is time to look at what I accomplished last year, see if I achieved my goals, and also to set new goals for the new year. For entertainment purposes, I have kept stats of various things during the year, and I will be keeping score during the video with my painting goals and my additions to my collection, and to see if I've accomplished my goals and by how much, and also to see how many new models I acquire. In 2023, I outlined a set of goals which totaled up to 191 models, or 220 and a quarter of what I call actual models, which is a number that I assign to a model depending on how big, complex, or challenging it is. During the video, I will put both numbers on screen when relevant. Last year, I set myself the goal of completing my Heresy Imperial Fists army. I did a breakdown of what was needed, and I ended up on 73 models that needed painting. Out of those 73, I painted 70. The remaining 3 that I didn't paint was my Fellblade, as I wanted to have the rest of my army done before I started it, and use it as a treat. At the time of editing, I am currently working on my Fellblade, and I am almost done assembling it. I painted models for the army throughout the year, but the final stretch of the army painting I did while prepping for a tournament. There will be a video coming up on that soon. Right now it's super long. I need to find a way to cut it down or change the format of the video completely. So I'm sorry it's taking a little while to get videos out. There were some gorgeous armies at that tournament, and I have videos of all of them, so you can look forward to some nice Heresy showcases if you're into that. Besides the Fellblade, the other 2 missing models were 2 command squad members, or so I had planned. I decided to hold off on those and instead hang on to the bits and bodies so that I can make a couple of new characters and consoles in 2024 when I hopefully make my own campaign. More on that in a bit. So, some stats. When I started 2023, the Heresy Fists collection was sitting at a 59.44 completion rate, and now it is comfortably sitting at 92.9%. So why is it not at 100%? Well, it is the Fellblade that is heavily weighted in my scoring system, and that I picked up 3 new models that I have to finish in 2024. I did fairly well with not adding too much to my collection in 2023. Out of the 181 models in the collection, only 25 were added during 2023, which was a box of Mark IV Marines, 3 tanks, and 2 characters. Overall, I'm going to say that I accomplished my goal, but as with any project, it never truly ends. During 2023, I started rebasing the army, so I need to complete that for the entire collection. I also want to add transfers to the entire army, as well as do some minor tweaks to color values and to some details here and there. You will possibly see videos on that during the year. So for the sake of keeping scores, I am 3 models behind the goal set at the start of the year. Last year, I started a project of converting my 40k Chaos Space Marine collection into a Horus Heresy army. I absolutely love this project, and I have big plans for it in 2024. I set myself a rather modest goal. I wanted the skeleton of a legal playable army, which is 1 HQ and 2 troop choices, for a total of 21 models. Besides converting my old models, I did end up acquiring 15 new models for the project. This includes Angron, Khan, some Red Butchers, some Rampagers, and a Predator Squadron. Like I said, I love the project. I did finish the year with 47 painted and converted models, solidly beating my goal by 26 models, which means that so far I am 23 models ahead of the goal in total. I also wanted to have my entire terrain collection painted up and thus ready for use in potential battle reports. That didn't happen in 2023, but more on that later. The goal was 52 models of terrain. They varied greatly in size, some as small as an oil barrel and some as big as a building. I ended up painting 46 models. The few things that I didn't quite get completed were minimal, and I simply didn't have time for it because of other priorities. Overall, I painted the entire collection more or less, and I am happy to call the goal completed. Well, mostly. I think I want to do another highlight or detail pass on several of the pieces, decals too. Basing is also lacking on a few of the pieces, and in my system, I don't really account for this. Maybe I need to rejig my spreadsheet to account for this step. But then again, I don't account for assembly or priming or anything else, only the painting. Something for me to consider, maybe a new spreadsheet structure. Now, terrain was an area where I ended up acquiring a fair amount. I've got myself 67 new pieces of terrain in various sizes. While this is a lot, this was a very conscious decision, and I honestly wanted to add more. I got plans for 2024, more on that later in the video. So all in all, I painted 6 models less than my goal, and adding to the total, I am now 17 models ahead of the overall goal in terms of numbers painted anyway. This just seems to be my kryptonite. I wanted it to paint 27 models. While I do not play 40k currently, I did want to have this painted, as most of my remaining models in the collection were gifts. I did paint some of them, or at least got very far with them, but none of them were sadly completed in terms of my scoring system. My excuse was the lack of hobby motivation and a very nasty cold when I finally started to take on the project. Everything in the collection is at least built, and you can see a bunch of my conversions in my October videos. This is the current state of the painting of the rest of the models. I can make it for sure. I just need to dedicate time to it. I started doing more highlighting and more bold colors, something I would eventually want to apply to the remaining army, and I also need to rebase pretty much all of it. I'm not sure when this will happen. It probably needs an incentive for it to happen. Since I haven't completed any of them, the math looks poor, but honestly all of these 22 models only need a metallic highlight, basing, and a bit of weathering. I still feel good about my effort, but I did fall slightly short of the goal. It also turns out that my goal was bigger than I thought. I had components for a whole squad that I used for various conversions during October, as well as I simply forgot to include some models in my goal, which was finish all my models for my collection. So the goal accidentally grew from 27 models to 45 models. However, the entire collection still sits at a healthy 90% completion rate. Since I only count models completed as part of the end of year stats, then I sadly did not complete any of them, no matter how close they are. Easy points for 2024 though, so 45 behind the goal on this specific task, and sadly 28 models behind the goal for the year overall. From a somewhat failure to a very clear win. Last year, I fell back in love with A Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game. Game of Thrones, for those of you who didn't know. And I had a big collection spread between 3 or 4 armies, depending on how we want to look at it. Some of it I had painted, most of it I was not happy with at all. So I stripped and repainted it. I also did buy a fair few new miniatures. So for this specific area, I'm doing 2 sets of stats, and you will see why in a bit. For my House Stark collection, I painted and completed 174 models. This currently means a 94% completion rate on the collection. My entire collection is 196 models, and 72 of them was acquired during the year. In fact, I was at 100% completion rate before I bought the 72 extra models. Yay! I had hoped to reach the 100% completion rate, but I will soon. I'm going to a tournament in 5 days, and I need most of the remaining models for that, so it should take care of itself. For my House Lannister army, I painted 72 models. My entire collection sits at 123 models, where 36 of them are newly acquired. This puts my army completion at 56.4% or 71.75% completion prior to any new models being bought. So also very nice. Now the last is technically 2 different armies, but with loads of overlap. My House Bolton army and my neutrals I have grouped as one. Neutrals are mercenaries and turncoats who fought or can fight on multiple sides during the War of the Five Kings. Most Boltons are included in that category. And this is where I bought the most new models, as House Bolton got rules as a standalone faction. I acquired 126 new models out of my total 165 model collection. I painted 82 of them during 2023, which amounts to a 52% completion rate. But prior to acquiring new models, it was at 99.4% with only a single model not painted. I look forward to getting 100% completion rate on all of my A Song of Ice and Fire collection. In total, I painted 328 models during the latter half of 2023. And since I had no goal for this, that is 328 models over my goal. This means that the yearly goal is now firmly beaten at 300 models, more than I had planned to paint. What can you say? When the motivation and drive is there, you just go nuts. To round off the painting part, I did also complete 8 models for my 40k Imperial fists in the shape of a intercession kill team that I did for a tournament. I also did a kill team for my world eaters, but that has already been accounted for in that collection. More on the kill team things later when I get to editing videos on that topic. I technically also painted 2 orcs for my Warhammer Fantasy army back during the start of the year, so they're included as well. Okay, enough painting. Let's wrap up my painting goals and move on to how I did on my other goals and my new goals for 2024. All in all, my goal was to paint 191 models, and I ended up painting 501 models, which puts me at 310 models above my goal. The ones that I missed in the various categories, I'm sure I will get to. Some other stats. Compared to last year, my goal was to paint 181 models, and I painted 269 models. So quite an improvement. Like I said, I fell back in love with A Song of Ice and Fire, and that is the bulk of it. Overall, I acquired 342 models, and that sounds scary. However, most of it was terrain and A Song of Ice and Fire models, which quickly got painted. Last year, I only acquired 127 models, so significantly more this year. I hope to keep it at a minimum in 2024, but I know there are some new House Stark units coming that I want to get, and possibly a few units for my Bretonnian collection. Normally I would go over the painting progress of my overall collections of all war games, but since I stripped 2 entire collections, my Tyranids and my World Eaters, then it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, the numbers. But safe to say, my pile of shame did decrease, and more than what the numbers say when I look in my cabinets and my drawers. I had other goals for the year, such as adding a new gaming board, which I did, and I painted it up in a 1-day-ish challenge. You can watch that here if you find that interesting. I certainly did. An overall theme for the year was to have painted and playable armies for multiple game systems, have multiple boards, and have painted terrain. All of this is to set me up to be able to do some high quality battle reports, if I am up for the task. I still don't know if I am too shy to invite people and to do it properly, but we shall see. The models and the boards are more or less ready for the challenge anyway. Lastly, I also had a desire of going to more events and tournaments, and I ended up going to 1 Kill Team tournament, 2 A Song of Ice and Fire tournaments, 1 Kill Team campaign, 1 Horus Heresy tournament, and 1 speed painting contest. So I would say mission accomplished on that goal. And I did join a gaming club again after many years. Other news from the past year is that I picked up an FDM printer, which will definitely feature in 2024 in both terrain, gaming accessories, and campaign capacities. Enough about the old, let's get to the new, my 2024 goals. This year, I want to do things differently. I want to keep my goals less specific and focus more on concepts. As an example, I want my Heresy World Eaters army to be event playable. This probably means 3,000 points painted, both in a legal composition and as units that make sense. So this goal is a little hard to quantify as a specific number of models that I need to paint, but certainly quite a few. Another goal for this year is that I want to create and run my own narrative campaign. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I think now it is finally time to do so. I have loads of ideas, and one of them I am working on right now. I'm making it quite immersive, and I think I want to do videos of how I work towards the campaign in terms of planning, scenery, structure, events, stuff like that. And maybe I can get some feedback along the way. That would be helpful. Another goal. My best friend and I used to play, but we haven't played lately because we do not overlap any gaming system currently. So one of my goals is I want to play games with him. I think we're going to a Horus Heresy event together in a couple of months, but if that fails, I want to have it as a goal to play something with him. I also want to do more terrain crafting. As of editing this video, I still haven't published my orc terrain video, but it lit a fire in me and I have many crafting supplies ready to go, so I look forward to doing that. Again, I don't know how to define the goal other than craft more terrain, be it kit bashing of official kits or scratch build terrain. Time will tell. A specific goal is to make a single battle report. I don't want to pick a game or pick a number higher than 1. I want to set it as a goal to make at least 1, so I force myself to work towards it and test the waters. Then we have some maybes and wishes, but not something I can define or set realistic goals for. There's also a good chance that I will focus on the old world. I got both a Bretonnian and a Greenskins army. Both are playable and largely painted, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't want to make any changes. I also have an urge to make a dwarf army. If nothing else, some focus on the old world would help me finish my fantasy armies fully. Gotta be honest, it feels a little bit weird that I haven't made any goals for my armies except my world eaters. Not even my poor 40k orcs. Instead of forcing myself to it, I think it will happen organically, and the same for other army completions. Some of those army completions are sitting temptingly close at 100%, which I think will be a drive in itself. Actually, I do have a final goal. I want to try and get to 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. And I want to do so without begging anyone to subscribe, like, or comment. I want people to do so because they enjoy what they see and choose to do so on their own when they feel like I have earned it, or if they see the potential in me becoming better. So to reach that goal, that means I need to commit to making more videos and more regular videos, which is hard, but I also don't want to set a specific goal for how often. Time will tell on that one. Anyway, thanks so much for following along with this long accounting and future dreams and plans. I hope to see you again here in 2024, and I hope to make something that catches your imagination or sparks your motivation. Cheers, and here's to 2024. I hope to see you again soon.